Hi, we're with Giovanni here from Frap Tools.
Hi there.
This is the Magnolia. It's the star of the show as far as we're concerned. We predicted it before we came here, and it's been totally justified. The buzz around this thing is incredible. Giovanni, thank you ever so much for giving us a demo today. Can you just tell us, what is Magnolia? What's it all about? Where did it come from? Because you guys are predominantly Eurorack.
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you for passing by. Magnolia is our 8-voice analog Thru-FM synthesizer. So it has 8 voices, and all the circuits on the 8 voices derive from what we've been developing for 10 years in the Eurorack world. So complex oscillators, complex filters, and the whole let's say West Coast heritage kind of sound, but developed from scratch every time.
Excellent. So can you just run us through what we've got here, what we see? Because this is a beautiful interface, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Well designed. Was this an in-house design?
Yes. Simone, the owner and founder of the company, is the main product designer, and we have a pretty much collaborative approach on projects, but yeah, he's the main mind behind mechanical design and user interface.
That's a beautiful thing. So yeah, tell us.
I would say that we can start from scratch and initialize the patch. As I said, we have 8 voices. Each voice has 1 and 2 oscillators. Oscillator 1 is the more, let's say, East Coast one with Thru-FM and wavefolder options per voice, of course. Okay. Oscillator 2 is the more traditional one for subtractive synthesis with PWM. And then we have a high pass and a low pass filter in series, both resonant, both 24 dB per octave. VCA, arpeggiator per part, and the modulation source that we will explore later on. So as we initialize a patch, we hear 8 sine waves. And we can start by hearing the Thru-FM. As you can hear, it's pretty stable, but also very organic, even in polyphony. And being a frequency modulation, it is influenced by the pitch of oscillator 2. And by working on the modulation amount, one can achieve very different sounds, from percussive times kind of thing, to just by adjusting the times and the amount to more glass-like pads with very subtle effects. We also have a wavefolder circuit per voice, as I said, which sounds like this. But also a continuously variable wave shaper. That crossfades between the 4 major waveforms. And of course, they can be combined together. And we try to find a balance between those features so that we don't have any, let's say, dead spot where the overall ensemble doesn't sound as pleasing as it should. The oscillator number 1 also features a flip sync option, which is the triangle core equivalent, so to speak, of hard sync. And so the octave knob becomes continuous in this mode, as opposed to the default behavior. And then we can hear oscillator 2, which, as I said earlier, is the more traditional one for subtractive synthesis. We have the same wave shaping control, but this time, if we are on the square wave, we can control the pulse width. And if we are on the sawtooth, we can, through a custom circuit, control its symmetry and bring the upper overtone up. Okay, like this, yeah. Which gives you the false impression that we are using like 2 oscillators. Yes. And let's talk a bit about how we deal with modulations here, because we have 3 hardwired envelopes, but let us say that we want to do some sort of PWM effect with the first LFO. We simply select it hit the assign button and just rotate the knob. And that's done. The LFO have continuously variable wave shapes as well. A delay, amplifier, phase, and also a sort of bend of the waveform that goes from linear to more exponential or logarithmic, which is, for pitch modulation has a dramatic impact. So this is PWM, but as you can see, if I rotate the waveform towards the socket, we can have a different kind of modulation and everything in between. All with just one oscillator because I muted the first one.
Yeah.
And then we can explore a little bit of the filters. We have high pass. We have a low pass. Resonant. Now I am being very cautious with the resonant, but it can get even wilder. And it has dedicated envelope, as it should be. Envelope over the VCA, velocity off also.
Oh wow.
Which can be useful, for example, if we have a long release time, like this, for pads, we can use the velocity off to apply a negative modulation over the release time, so that if we are very gentle in releasing our fingers, we have a slow release, but if we are more abrupt, we have this kind of expressiveness.
Yeah.
And which is a great addition to the usual features. And this, we have a polyphonic aftertouch as well, that we can assign, let's say, to the filter, like this. Kind of thing. And the whole, now we've been talking about the voice architecture. The program architecture is actually bitimbral. So we have two sub-programs per each patch. This one is the one we've been working on so far. We select part B. We can program a completely different sound. For example, kind of a plucky FM kind of sound. And since we have an arpeggiator per part, we can turn it on just for part B. And perhaps we can listen to both patches together.
Does that split the polyphony 4 and 4?
By default, yes, but since our part B is actually just doing an arpeggio, we can set it to mono and assign 7 voices to part A.
Brilliant.
So we can have a more wider chords.
That's really good.
And we can, of course, use set the part to mono or legato for more classic. Or let's keep some filter tracking as well. And since we were talking about voice assignment, we can assign more voices to a monophonic part to achieve the unison effect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say. Or even apply some sort of offset, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and have chords.
Very good.
That can also be arpeggiated as well. mean, there is plenty of room for exploration, but we wanted to keep the easy stuff up front and let the user decide how deep they want to go. A final feature is the Filter-FM. Let's go back to... Let's assign just one part. So let's say that I want to assign... I'm not feeding the oscillator 1 into the mixer, but I can use it as a modulation source for the cutoff frequency. And this allows us to have this kind of talking filter effect for further sonic capabilities that take different ways out of subtractive synthesis.
Yes, it's fantastic. Tell me, you've got just a 4-character display there. Was that a conscious decision not to have an elaborate LED type?
Yeah, mostly because the elaborate LED is the element that ages more quickly, I would say. It's the one that lets you date a synthesizer.
Sure.
And by choosing to go retro wave, let's say, with a 7-segment, we said, okay, let's keep it like outside of the history. But at the same time, we come from the modular synthesizer.
Sure.
So we just wanted to preserve the immediacy of interface, of analog interfaces with patch cables. And usually the display, like OLED display, are used for menus and for keeping tracks of the mod matrix. But by playing with LEDs, we've been able to develop a sort of interface for the mod matrix. So right now we can see that there are a few red LEDs light up on the display, and it means that those sources are going somewhere.
Okay.
We just have to select them, and we can see the white LED that stands for the destination. So it means that there is a patch cable here, and that's it.
That's clever. Yeah.
And but one may also want to work the other way around, so understand what is controlling the cutoff. So we have the toggle function that allows us to switch modulations on and off to double check if our sound design is proper. And this becomes like a button, and it says, okay, now we have selected the cutoff destination. Let's see what is modulating it. And we have the key track and the aftertouch, and we can switch them on or off. Or back again. And that's as easy as it gets. And I mean, that was a conscious decision also for this point of view. We wanted to see how far we could push a graphic interface.
Sure, it's really cool. Tell me about the connectivity at the back. So you've got traditional MIDI. Does have CV and gate?
We were considering that option, but quite frankly, the results weren't up to the task.
Sure.
So we might drop them, especially considering that this is a polyphonic synthesizer, and they would have been like monophonic sources. So we might stick with 2 expression pedals, but we are still gathering feedbacks as for connectivity. For example, lots of people are requesting MPE.
Yes.
Where the internal aftertouch is polyphonic, so many people are asking MPE, and we are actually considering those kind of
that's good. Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. Will it support MPE? Because we have a lot of viewers on our channel that are big MPE fans, so that was going to be a big thing. So it's good to hear that you're considering it. You've got USB on the back there. Is that purely for MIDI, or can you do system updates?
Yeah. I mean, the whole MIDI and connectivity is one of the things that we are still working out and polishing. Also, apart from this section down here, which will feature an analog distortion and digital effects. But it will include the possibility for firmware update and also preset backups.
Okay, and the audio outputs, will there be separate audios or all combined into a stereo output?
Stereo output, yeah.
Brilliant. So, big question, when and how much?
So when, let's say surely within the year, and hopefully by late summer.
Okay.
And how much is going to be? 3,995 euros.
That's good.
Let's say the aimed price.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you brought 2 prototypes here, so things are still in the balance for a little while yet.
Yeah.
Where should people go if they want to keep up to date with what you're doing with this?
We have our page, frap.tools/Magnolia, where they also can get in touch and subscribe to a newsletter and also let us know their favorite shops so we can get in touch.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to say, where are you going to sell this direct, or are you going to go through,
We're going to start through stores.
Okay, yeah. That's fantastic. Brilliant. Well, congratulations. This is a magnificent thing that, as I said, we thought this was going to be the big thing of the show, and I think it really has been.
Thanks so much.
You guys have done a great job. Would you mind giving us just a final little demo?
Okay,
go out on?
let's see. Let's see if we can find some cool presets. Right now we can hear two different arpeggiators, one on part A and one on part B.
Beautiful, Giovanni.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed. Thank you very much. That's all, folks.